This is pages 36 through 47 of March Book 1, where we last left off in our reading. John Lewis, U.S. Senator, was in his office on the morning of President Obama's inauguration, January 20, 2009, and he was looking at photos from his life and sharing about his life with the people in the room, in particular 2 little boys who were asking him questions like, "Why do you have so many chickens?" And so it's taking him on a memory lane back through his childhood. We just left off with the stories about the chickens, and we were moving on to a road trip. And these are all having to do with how John Lewis ended up who he was, doing what he was doing. So, this is page 36, and we're going to zoom in on the panel at the top. The thing is, when I was young, there wasn't much of a civil rights movement. I wanted to work at something, but growing up in rural Alabama, my parents knew it could be dangerous to make any waves. And you'll notice in this paragraph there are 2 words that are sort of bigger and bolded, and that is something you can do with a graphic novel, is emphasize certain words over others to help show how you would read this. So, pardon me, I had to sneeze. Here we have, on the rocking chair on the front porch, "Stay out of trouble, don't get in white people's way." That's the advice he's hearing from his family. But other members of my family helped open my eyes. And here this is an open road on open land. In the summer of 1951, I took my first trip north. And here we see the trip happening, the wheels hitting the road. Otis Carter, one of my mother's brothers, arranged the journey. He planned it completely for my sake. He lived in Dothan, about 60 miles south of us, where he was a teacher and a school principal. Uncle Otis had always taken a special interest in me, especially as I began to grow and stand out a little bit, not just with my devotion to schoolwork, but with the way I generally acted. I was so serious, very earnest, still sermonizing with my chickens, still protesting when that white meat went on the table. I wore a tie often, and some of the grown-ups teased me about that, telling me I dressed like a preacher. And here you see pinching his cheeks, "Oh, you cute little," whatever it was they'd say. I know now that Uncle Otis saw something in me that I hadn't seen yet. Here they are, going off on their trip. That is why we took our trip in June of 51. These look like picnic baskets. There would be no restaurants for us to stop at until we were well out of the South. So we carried our restaurant right in the car with us. And here we see sweat dripping off their heads because it's literally hot in there. Stopping for gas and bathroom breaks took careful planning. Uncle Otis had made this trip before, and he knew which places along the way offered, quote, colored bathrooms. And I'm going to pause here to explain that colored is not the polite term today. It is not the proper term today, but at the time it was considered the polite term to describe someone who was black in the U.S. And so that's how they would label them, as colored bathrooms. And which bathrooms were safer to just pass on by. And here we see 2 suspicious or upset or possibly angry looking white men. And an open road, the passing of miles in time. And more miles passing, and it continues to be hot in the car. And cars passing by, waving to them. Oh, it looks like this is another black person heading the other direction. Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky. These were the states we had to be careful in as we made our way north. Sign says, "You are now leaving Alabama and entering Tennessee. Tennessee, America at its best." America at its best, but these are the states that are the most dangerous for them. Black drivers we passed going the other direction, from north to south, faced an added danger, their license plates making them visible targets. New York. And here we have two white people sitting on a porch at a gas station saying something that I'm not going to repeat out loud. Content warning, the N-word is in this speech bubble, and white people should not repeat the N-word out loud, not even when reading or quoting. It has too much of a history of violence and hate crimes. And so they're saying something about what are they doing with a car like that, them Yankees. Sometimes they had to face worse than words like that. Here's a bridge they're crossing. It wasn't until we got into Ohio that I could feel Uncle Otis relax. There's the sweat beads on his forehead. Perhaps it was more than just heat making him sweat. You are now entering Ohio. The Buckeye State welcomes you. And so I relaxed too. Next page. By the time we reached Lake Erie and turned east toward Buffalo, I was about ready to burst with excitement, and you'll notice the background here has turned from white to black, signaling a tone change again. Here he's looking out the window, looking in awe at the world around him. It's nighttime. You can see the stars. You can see traffic lights and electric poles and skyscrapers. I was not disappointed. And here we see one panel that spans the whole length, top to bottom, and then other panels in line, top to bottom. Arriving in Buffalo after 17 hours of travel was an otherworldly experience. It was so busy, almost frantic. And here you can see a lot going on down here on the street below, sort of a bird's eye view. People walking at each direction. When we reached my Uncle O.C.'s and Dink's house, I couldn't believe it. They had white people living next door to them. On both sides. And here's a dude who's in his relaxed at home clothes, taking out the trash and scratching his head. My Aunt Leola and Aunt May Charles took me shopping downtown one day at a department store called Sadler's. And this looks like a shiny, polished department store, very different from the farm that we saw in his earlier years. There, for the first time in my life, I rode an escalator. Now think to yourself, does he look excited or scared? I had never even heard of such a thing. I found my way to the candy counter, and it was like magic. I tried to make that bag of Neapolitan candy last forever. Another time we went to the outdoor market, and I watched my Aunt Leola shop for a chicken. City people didn't raise their own chickens. They did what my aunt did. I want that one. That amazed me. It was so different from back home. I wasn't even bothered by the fate of these chickens. I want to pause to show you how their heads span two panels and are sort of cut between. Maybe the fact that I didn't know them had something to do with it. I don't know. I do know that I had no problem cleaning my plate that evening. By late August, when it was time to return to Alabama, I was more than ready. And here they are taking that road trip again. I missed my brothers and sisters. I missed my parents. When I finally arrived home, I was crying because it felt so good to be back. Thank you, Uncle Otis. And everyone is here on the porch, waving and greeting him. And again we have a change from white background to black background, indicating a change of tone or scenery or place. After that trip, home never felt the same, and neither did I. Oops. In the fall, I started riding the bus to school, which should have been fun, but it was just another sad reminder of how different our lives were from those of white children. Here they are, waiting for the bus.